Good morning. I am vlogging from England, and it's around 9:30 on the 3rd of February. It's a Saturday, and I'm just getting into the swing of this vlogging, and it's been quite a steep learning curve, especially in relation to working out what equipment to use. I did try in the beginning to work with my smartphone as a recording device, but that proved quite difficult, and I had to construct some rather weird jigs that would hold it, and that was based on using some scrap wood nailed together and purchased rather precariously on a sort of shelf, and with the smartphone rubber banded to a pillar that I made. It wasn't too bad, but I'm now moved across to attempting to work with a camera, proper camera, on a tripod. So I do use a camera because I wouldn't say I was primarily a photographer, but I do take reference pictures to use in my sketching and painting. I'd like to do more of that, both take more reference pictures and do more painting and sketching. The reference pictures for that sort of thing aren't the sort of thing that you would aren't the sort of stuff that you would do normally as a photographer. So, for example, it'd be very useful if I could take a whole range of photographs of skies with different kinds of clouds on different kinds of days, preferably at different times of the year, because the light changes across the year as you move through the seasons. And then that would go in as a sort of layer in my digital artwork, and it could sit behind. Well, actually, if I had a nice photograph of a sunrise across the sea. Now, let me explain a little bit about that. I live on the east coast of England, so we don't get sunsets over the sea, but when you look out from the east coast, you're looking west. And when you look out from the east coast, you're looking east, and the sun, of course, rises in the east. So the sun comes up over the horizon of the sea. That can sometimes be extraordinarily beautiful. I have been out, fairly early in the morning in order to capture it a few hours, about half an hour before sunrise, and just waited and walked along the cliffs. We don't have large cliffs, not like some of these huge cliffs you have. It's nothing like cliffs, producing Niagara Fall or something like that. But they're rather pleasant cliffs, small cliffs, but they just provide a nice viewing point onto the sea. And you could then, if I had a nice sunrise, I could put it behind my head, you see. Now, when this vlog goes out, you probably won't see the green card that I have put up on a piece of 4x2. That's English for 4 foot by 2 foot. Piece of 4x2 3-ply wood, which I bought from an English DIY store, DIY standing for do-it-yourself. I bought that piece of wood at B&Q for not a lot of money. You don't pay a lot of money for a bit of wood that size, really. And then I got a couple of bits of green card, about 2 or 3 quid each. A quid is a pound in English slang. And so I've made, and I've strung the board up on a piece of wire string, so it hangs down against the wall, and that's my green screen. Now, I don't know if you know about green screens, but they're all the rage in filmmaking nowadays. but they can be quite expensive. So my desire was to produce a very cheap green screen that I could use, just knock it up and use it, sitting in my comfy chair in my tiny little studio up here. And it seems to work okay. You see, what happens is, after I finish and I transfer this movie onto my PC, then I use the software on the PC, and I have a piece of software which just vanishes that green screen, and what was green becomes transparent. Now it's then, if I stick a sunset photograph behind the image of myself talking in the movie, my image will be there, but behind me will appear this sunset. Now, I don't think you'll see a sunset, because I don't think I've got a decent sunset to put up there. But in one of my earlier forays into vlogging, I did use a scene which I downloaded off the internet, which was looking from inside a bedroom window in a Paris street, through the window onto the upper stories of the houses opposite on the other side of the street. And the architecture of the houses, it seemed to me, was absolutely typically Parisian, and I rather liked that. So I was, if you like, in virtual reality, I was blogging to you from somewhere in Paris. I could have been in a hotel in Paris, you see. And I found that a very attractive idea. So anyway, that's the green screen. Now, one of the things I've been thinking about over these past weeks, when I started into this idea of vlogging, is how constructed the vlog should be. You know, should I have a list and work from a list of topics, or should I fly by the seat of my pants, as they say, be spontaneous? Well, generally speaking, my idea is to attempt to be spontaneous. Oh, I see I've got some light reflected in my glasses, my spectacles. That's rather unfortunate, and it's going to be very difficult for me to sort that out. I don't get so much if I just tilt my head down a bit, but then you can't see the eye because the eye's in shadow, probably. Yes, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. One of the things that the way people take care of that is I have a quite fancy set of lights, you know, and probably would have about 3 or 4 lights standing on tripods. And there would be one light behind me aimed at the green screen to get rid of any shadow, and then there would probably be a backlight coming to highlight so that my head and shoulders get sort of nicely framed, and all that sort of stuff. Well, I haven't got the room, let alone the time and effort to set it up, or the expense. I just don't have the room here. The other thing, going back to my setup, if I want to, I see if I turn my head, perhaps it's not too bad, the glare, but never mind. If I want to play the piano, I can't do it like this, and I haven't yet decided how best to do a vlog when I'm sitting at the piano, because I quite like the idea of tinkling the ivories. That's English slang for playing the piano. Tinkling the ivories, that comes from ivory. Piano, the white keys on piano used to be made of ivory in the old days. This was before plastic was invented and widely used. And actually, when I grew up, there wasn't a lot of plastic around. It was just sort of bits and pieces, and it was all very low grade. But there we are. Times change. Everything got all sorts of fantastic plastic objects. Not exactly objets d'art, but objects of use. Plenty of plastic. You find plenty of plastic in kitchens, of course. Yes. Well, how's time going? I think that this is probably enough for today. And the reason why I'm going to stop now is that, in fact, this is still in an experimental phase. I'm using my headset microphone today, which I use when I do my singing while playing guitar or playing piano for my internet shows, because then I've got both hands free to either play the guitar or play the piano, whichever. And I suddenly thought, well, yes, the headset mic probably would be pretty good, and the cap, although the cap hides my rather high domed forehead, does lend a bit of stability to this headset mic, you see. And this is one of the things that I've been thinking about, and is a little bit tricky, I have to say. I might close this down and then the sound could be all wrong. I'm not 100% confident about how to do the sound yet. And of course, if that's the case, you'll never see this blog, so I don't know why I'm saying this. But be that as it may, my dear blogophiles, I think I'll say bye for now, and I shall speak to you later. Bye-bye.